All right. So let's finish talking about impoundment then, okay? So impoundment is not a power the president has anymore. Congress finally got smart and took it away from him. Did that in the 70s. But what impoundment allowed the president to do, and I still want you to know it because it could show up as a term that still, the AP exam still likes to ask about important past ideas that might no longer exist, is impoundment allowed the president to refuse to spend money that Congress had allocated or authorized to be spent on a certain thing. So let's say Congress said, hey, we want to spend some money on some new naval ships, and the president says, nope, I want to spend it on space exploration. I don't know, just making some things up. The president, that was what impoundment was. The president could sit there and refuse to spend money, to allow agencies to spend money that Congress had authorized, and could decide to spend it on something else. Not a power the president has anymore, but something still to remember. Executive orders are a big idea, and like I said, I'll have a video to watch along with that as well. Okay, big concept here. This next slide, big concept. Pay attention to this. Learn this. This is huge. Okay, I'm going to have an FRQ about this, so make sure that you're on top of this. All right. So, how do we actually change the Constitution? How do we completely change the Constitution? And the way we do that, there are several methods, and there are two parts to this process. The two parts are there's proposing an amendment to the Constitution, and then there's ratifying or approving that change, that amendment. Okay, proposal only happens at the national level. Okay, Congress does this, and there are two ways to do it. We've only used one of them, and that is 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress proposes an amendment. Okay, so both houses of Congress, 2/3 of both houses of Congress vote to propose an amendment, then an amendment is proposed. The other way is a national constitutional convention called by Congress at the request of 2/3 of the state legislatures. So 2/3 of the state legislatures ask Congress to have a national constitutional convention. We've never used that method because, frankly, people are afraid of that method. And they think that perhaps, if we get together a new constitutional convention, well, what happened the last time? And hopefully someone said the last time we had a constitutional convention, we got a whole new constitution. They got rid of the articles. So some people are afraid that might happen again. That once the constitutional convention meets, they might make amendments and changes that people don't want at all. And Georgia is actually one of the states that has called for one right now, but Georgia has called for one that can only deal with certain issues. I don't know that would actually make a difference. I don't know that would actually make a difference once the Constitutional Convention meets, but that is the requirement that Georgia has put on a Constitutional Convention if it were to be called. And so there are several states that have called for them now, but obviously not 2/3. Okay, so only one of those methods has been used. That's 2/3 of both houses of Congress vote to propose an amendment. Now, after amendment has been proposed, let's say 2/3 of the House and the Senate vote to propose an amendment. We look at ratifying the amendment. Ratification can only occur at the state level. Okay? Ratification only occurs at the state level. And there are two ways that this can happen. The most likely way an amendment will be ratified, all amendments but one have been ratified this way, is 3/4 of the state legislatures vote for the amendment. Every amendment but one has been ratified that way. So most all amendments, 2/3 of the House and Senate have voted to propose them, and then 3/4 of state legislators have voted to approve them. Legislatures have voted to approve them. That's how most amendments have been made. Most amendments to the Constitution have been made. The other way, though, it's been used once. You can see there, the 21st Amendment. That's the amendment that overturned prohibition, essentially. Okay. The other way that happens is 3/4 of the states have ratifying conventions, and then people vote at the ratifying conventions. And like I said, that's only been used once. So, some key things to remember here. Proposal can only happen at the national level. Only Congress can do that. And the number that's important here is 2/3. Ratification only occurs at the state level. And the number that's important here is 3/4. Okay, so two things to remember here. They both go together. You have to propose and ratify an amendment. That's the entire process right there. You have to go through both steps for an amendment to be added to the Constitution. Okay, so those are just the big things, the big keys to remember here. If you remember any of them, remember those top two. That's the method that's usually used, but any of them would work. Okay, you can see here as you're looking at ratifying amendments. Some amendments are ratified in a short amount of time. Some take a long amount of time. Notice the 27th Amendment. It took 203 years to be ratified. It was actually one of the first 10 proposed. So it would have been first 12. I think they proposed 12, but only 10 made it in the Bill of Rights. And then finally, 203 years later, it passed. And so you can see there the numbers there. So it's an interesting thing. You see the first 10 only took 2 years. The briefest amount was the 26th Amendment. That's 18 to 21-year-olds to vote. And just another thing to talk about, so you can see that not all amendments get ratified, no matter how popular they are. There was an amendment, some of your parents have probably heard about this. It was still being argued about into the 1980s, was the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment. And that was going to be an amendment that said that no one, you can see there, no right should be denied or abridged based on the count of sex or gender. Okay, it was going to essentially equalize the genders. Got introduced in 1923. Congress actually passes it in 1972. But the states don't ratify it. In fact, it was only 3 states short of being ratified. And the interesting thing here is it was actually a group of conservative women who actually fought back against it. They claimed that under the ERA that the government would then be able to sit there and make women leave their homes and have to work and change the traditional family structure there. And so it was actually a conservative backlash against it that made it fall three votes short. I mean, a conservative president like Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy Reagan were both in support of the amendment, but that still wasn't enough, and it fell 3 states short. So it just shows you it's very difficult to amend the Constitution. You would think an equal rights amendment would be a slam dunk, but it didn't make it. It still isn't in the Constitution. All right, that's the end of our Constitution presentations. We'll start back with federalism. Will be the next one we'll look at. All right.